Hey guys, Aidan here from XM2. You just saw what happened on the screen. Want to find out what happened? Keep watching this video. Today we're going to be checking out the DJI M300. It's the top of the line enterprise model from DJI. It has all the new bells and whistles and features that you could ever imagine. So we're going to get out in the field right now and test it out. Okay, so we're screen recording, so I'll show you guys what I'm dealing with here, but top left corner it's saying cannot take off. I mean, we've got everything else right. Batteries are good. Compass is good. Flight mode, GPS, mode 2. Let's go a bit deeper in the menus. Just double check max altitude, distance limit. Kill that for now. Okay, so let's just read through these. We've got vision sensors currently available. You know what I might do? Let's see if this thing will actually take off. I think it may be just because for the RTK GPS is looking for it. Let's go to RTK. Okay, I'm turning off RTK. Positioning. Max flight altitude 150 meters. Okay, that shouldn't be a problem because our legal limit's 120. All right, I will move this out of the way so you guys can stay close and still see. And we're going to take this over. Still giving me a error, but I think that's just to do with the max flight altitude. Okay, so we've armed. Taking off. Straight away I noticed that it's actually very quiet. We don't have a payload on here, so it is kind of light. But I'm just going to have a bit of a run through here to have a feel of what it feels like. So, you know, typically when I fly any drone, and I fly a lot of them, I just check all the control surfaces when I first take off. Make sure everything's doing as I would expect. And already there, I think it's sensing us over here and it's sort of helping collision avoid us potentially. So feels really nice in the air, very, very nice. Super smooth, very easy to control. The rates are good as well. They're not too slow and not too quick. You know, so for the stuff that you typically do with this, it's quite nice. All right. So I'm going to also sit this up for you guys and we're just going to fly it until we we'll see what sort of battery we finish up with, but let's have a look here. So on the screen now, we've got a few things that are just standard here. We've got a nice Osd screen. We've got the height. We've got a nice artificial horizon, which also includes a bit of a heads up. So, you know, you can see as I'm going up and down. We have the vertical height on the right-hand side of the screen there. That's nice. All right, I'm going to fly around a little bit and just let's have a feel. So I'm pretty comfortable with it now. Super smooth, thing feels really nice. Just throwing around. So this is just in your standard GPS mode. Maximum ascent speed, so it's going up at 5 meters a second by the looks of it. Now this is always a good test to descend quickly on a drone, especially when it's low weight. We'll see how stable it is. I think that's pretty damn good. Do note today it's like dead still, so this is perfect conditions to fly a drone, which we don't usually get, which is unfortunate because this thing is supposed to be very good in the wind. It's yaw rate here, so I'm just holding full stick yaw at the moment and it's super smooth, very consistent. That's nice. Can you guys see that all right on the cameras? I'll come a bit closer as well, does that help? All right, so having a look at that. Yeah, this thing does fly really nicely. I'm sure with the extra payload on there, not going to notice much difference. So let's see, and you can see on my flight timer up there, we've got 49 minutes remaining, which is pretty incredible. And yeah, that's cool. So what else? I'm going to give it a bit of a thrashing and we'll see what other modes it goes into. So I'm going to fly away. So this is in GPS speed. So we're up to 15 meters a second there. It doesn't have a very aggressive brake on it That can be adjustable, I have no doubt. And that's now 15 meters a second. So it is very smooth. Its braking is quite gentle, which I actually prefer over an aggressive brake. Makes you feel a little bit more in control. And it is all adjustable in the system if it's anything like the other DJI products. So now here I'm just going to show you how it reacts. I'm going to go full stick left and off. See how the brake's quite gentle, full stick right, off. It's nice. Bring it a little closer. It's beautiful. All right, now other things. Let's see what other modes we can flick this into. Okay, we need to turn the modes on as it's the first time we've used this thing. Let's go up here. Unlock beginner mode. I don't even know if it has it in here. We'll go over the sensors in a minute. I'm just looking through the screens here. It's got dual band frequency, so does that mean it's working both on 5.7, which is pretty cool? Yeah. You guys. Yep. All right, we've got some people here, so we're just going to move this away. Drones tend to attract some spectators. All right. We've got all the information about the batteries. Now, why can't I find? Let's have a look what it says when I try to flip this. The other one thing that I'm just looking at right now is that the FPV camera is way, way, way better than the previous versions. So it's looking like I'm getting like a full HD feed off it. It's very clear. It's in a sort of 4:3 sort of aspect ratio, not your 16:9. But yeah, it's amazingly clear. Sort of what you'd expect from the normal cameras when you have them inbuilt. So that's very cool. But I'll show you the screen recording of this in the video now so you can see. But yeah, that's a really nice addition, which I'm really happy to see that in there, because the old one did leave a little bit to be desired. And when you're trying to fly using that camera for certain things, it's good. Turn on multiple flight modes now. Where do I find that? Maybe you can't do it in the air. Oh, here we go. Enable multiple fly modes. So what do we have for fly modes? We still have a sport mode, we have the tripod mode and the standard P mode. So let's flick it into sport. Yeah, okay, we understand that. Oh, I can't get over. All right, let's have a look. So what is it going to do in sport? It does get a little bit more aggressive. I don't know if it has actually much more angle. Definitely more aggressive on the brake. Does feel good. It's not as aggressive as, say, like an Inspire 2 sport mode, but you know, it's definitely flying without any issue. I need a bit of space to run this out to see what sort of speed we get up to. Do you want me to go higher, Dan? Ooh, that was a bit of a wobble. There we go. We'll go fast forward flight. Yeah, so you know, we're getting 20 meters a second in a short space there. I'm going to rip it back and see what it can do. 13, 14. Yeah, quite a comfortable air brake, as I was saying before. It descends a lot faster now as well, so let's have a look. Let's see the max ascent and descent speed as a stock. So yeah, 6 meters a second ascending. Let's see what it can do descending. Well, that's fast. 5 meters a second descending, and it is pretty stable. That is pretty amazing with no payload on there. That's super stable. I'm going to show you that again because it's actually really impressive. 6 meters a second going up. 5 meters a second coming down. Yeah, and everything's not too aggressive. So, you know, on previous ones that's been really aggressive on the altitude gain. This one is it's just really nice. I like the way this thing's been tuned. Okay, what can we test out next? So we've done sport. Let's go to tripod mode. This is actually really important when you are doing your inspections. Just looking at the speed now, that's our maximum yaw rate, nice and slow. Now this mode is really good when you're doing inspections of things like bridges or any sort of anything that's like requires a precision of flying skill and you need slow movement. Just slows everything down so it's a lot easier to move. This is its maximum aileron speed. So yeah, everything's nice and smooth in control. I can't see on the screen anywhere to adjust that, which I've seen in previous versions. I'm sure you can go onto the menus and adjust it a little bit more, but it just doesn't seem to show it right now. So let's look at maximum ascend. So 1 meter a second up, 1 meter a second down. That's pretty cool. That's tripod mode. So I'm going to flick back to P mode, which is your standard GPS. And let's have a look in these menus here to see what other things we can find. So just looking at this, vision sensors currently available. We have horizontal, vertical, and other. And these are all currently turned on. And it has a braking distance. You can set a lot of different stuff in here, which is nice. Brake distance of 1 meter, up to 10 meters, which is nice. So you can tell it when you want to start to do braking. You have your real-time radar chart. Now, I'm not sure where that is actually showing on my screen. It might be that little bar on the left-hand side, but we'll check it out in a second. FPV radar chart, let's have a look. Okay, it started beeping. I can't actually see what it's doing there. Let's turn it around and face it to us and let's see what it's actually doing. Oh yep, so you can see on the screen. I'm going to move it over to an object so we can actually try. If I move over to this building over here, we can see what it's doing. You good, Dan? Oh, there you go. So it's already collision avoided. If you can see on the screen, that's cool. So it's got a heads up display now. It's got a lot more information than previous ones, as you can see. So you've got this red bar at the front, which is obviously telling us the immediate danger. And then as we move closer, it's got a distance, which is really nice. So we've got on either side, we have, so we're saying it's 5 meters away. I'm assuming that's from that point on the screen, in the center of the screen there. If I move up, let's see what it does. 7 meters. Okay, and then you also have the left and right hand sides, which is pretty cool, as it's showing me distance from things on the right hand and left hand side. So if I move closer, let's see where it does this. Okay, so I've pushed right up against the building now. It's locked me out, so I can't go any closer. It's saying I'm 4 meters away, which is all right, and it's giving me a lot of warnings. So let's go, I want to try this a little bit differently. I'm going to pull away now. And let's try it going side on, which the previous generation did not have. Nice, so it stopped me there, going too close. And yeah, so it stopped me on the screen right there, which is nice. So you've got your side, so front and sides are working real well. It's also picking up on the screen stuff at my rear now. Let's try it from the rear point of view. So I'm going to go out just so we can see. Now I'm going to back it up. And we'll keep going. And it stopped there as well. So yeah, at 3.7 meters. So there you go, we've got full 360-degree collision avoidance. The on-screen display, as you can see, it's showing anything within the vicinity of those sensors, which I think is really nice to get a good situational awareness when you're flying close to structures. It's really nice. I'm going to come out a little bit, and I'm going to come in now. A little bit more speed just to see how it reacts. And there you go. So it's quite aggressive at the end there when it caught itself, but you know, it's doing its job. It's actually picking it up really well. I wonder how that will go against the tree here. So I'm going to come in. Okay, so it's picked up that. I don't know if it's actually picked up the tree there. I seem fairly close to it, but it's reading 3.7 meters, which is where it stopped last time. So maybe it is picking that up, but we're not 100% certain. I'm going to move it over to a different tree just to see how it reacts. Oh, let's go over here to the fence. Let's see how it goes against chain link fence. So what it's reading 10 meters away at the moment, which is not correct. Getting closer. Okay, so it has picked it up. I'm not sure exactly what it's looking at there. It's letting me edge closer and closer. I'm gonna go a little bit closer, so just in case here. Just to see if it's picking up this fence or not. Okay, yeah, so it is locking me out. And we'll come a bit closer. Let's see how it goes here. So I'm gonna fly towards the fence and see how it goes. So it's already slowing my speed in. It's letting me go. Oh, there you go. So you saw when it did that really hard reaction, that's actually when it's taken over from me controlling. I'm gonna go again just to see, so show you guys how it reacts. Yeah, so it's good. It seems to be picking up something. I don't know if it's with picking up the poles there or the actual fence itself, but you know, it's doing its job with the collision avoidance. So now I'm gonna try it up here. I'll go up to this tree. I might fly sideways so you guys can get a better view. I'll go on this side. I wonder if we can turn that beeping off, because just for the sake of this video, it's super annoying. Real-time radar, horizontal. Yeah, I think it's either on or off. I wonder if that is because so I've turned the radar chart off on my FPV screen. Let's see. And remember, these are all the stock settings in here, so if we change anything, then you know it'll vary. So let's have a look. I'm going to run it into this tree and let's see what it does. So it's already slowed my descent because it knows there's something in front, and it slowed me nice and evenly then. So it hasn't it's reacted a little bit more consistently on that with a more solid object. I'm going to fly into it with a bit more speed here and let's see what it does. So it's already slowed, I'm pushing full stick now and it's already telling me I can't go too fast. That's full stick, I'm holding full stick still, and it's now reacted. I'm still holding full stick and it's holding its position there. So I'm pushing the stick forward as hard as I can go and it's not going any further. Try that again. I'm gonna come out with a bit more speed to see how it reacts at a little bit further out. These sensors are supposed to be good at 40 meters, so let's see what it does. Pushing in. It's going quick now. All right, I chickened out on that one and let it do its thing, so I'm gonna try it again. I actually pulled off the sticks there because it didn't seem like it was slowing it enough. Let's try again. Okay, it's slowing it. Okay, so that worked really well. As you can see, I'm holding my stick full on here and it's flown in at speed, and then it slowed itself pretty gradually. So, you know, it's obviously sensing itself far enough out to make it well. So let's fly in fast again. It's going really fast. Ooh, ooh, whoa, okay. There you go, so the sensors did not take over on that one. Pretty sketchy. So I came in pretty quick and it actually stopped me from pulling back, which is pretty concerning, to be honest. So that is a really interesting thing, and it was pretty sketchy. I couldn't pull it out of that tree, even though I kept drifting towards it quite slowly. It wouldn't allow me to pull back. So I don't know whether that was it being too smart or it thinks that something was behind us, but it wouldn't allow me to yank the stick back on my own, which is pretty scary. I was actually thinking we were going to crash it then. So interesting. So be warned. I mean, that is not a normal situation where you'd be flying straight at something like that, but if I take into account maybe it's doing a return to home and it's flying at 10 meters a second to get back to you, that's a reality that if there's a tree in the way, it may not stop in time. So that's interesting. Keep that in mind. That's exactly what we're out here to do, to test it out, so you guys know what to expect so you don't have to stack it. All right, I'm gonna fly back over to our original position. I don't know if there's anything else we can do over there. And we're gonna have a look here. All right, just interestingly enough, we're now still at 63% battery, saying we have 31 minutes remaining. Again, it's very impressive. All right, so looking on the screen at the moment, what else can we go into here and have a look? Let's just have a look at the settings that we had in here. I'm going to keep this flying just so, you know, we can test this flight time out. But looking at this, what have we got here? We have the vision sensing system on, braking distance, and maybe that's why we don't have it. I've only got it, maybe this is set from the factory, but it's set to 1.5 meters. So let me bump that up to say 5 meters, and we'll try a similar thing and see what it does. Let's have a look here. I'm coming towards the tree again. Okay, yeah, now it's stopping a lot earlier. So it's probably a good point of view there. So I've actually changed the braking distance to have a lot more headroom. Now, you'd probably do this if you're flying around fast and doing like more mapping missions. If you're doing surveying and flying it slowly, then you could probably keep it the braking distance less, as it's going to interfere with you sometimes in the survey. So let's just try and go a little bit slower this time. I'm lined up for that tree again. Still feels like it's leaving a lot of space. Let's just max this out. I want to see if it actually does change it much. So I've now put this to 10 meter braking distance from the vision sensing system. Let's have a look. The other thing too to note, right now I'm kind of looking into the sun, even though it's cloudy and overcast. You know, this could give it an interesting thing. That's maybe why the camera's struggled before. Okay, so I'm pushing hard. Now the 10 meter thing is actually holding out. I would say that's less than 10 meters, but it started braking at around that 10 meter point. So I'm going to fly it now at speed to see how it reacts. Okay, here we go. Coming in fast and hot. It started braking, and it's braked really hard then, so that was really nice. I actually suspect, before thinking about what this drone's actually doing, because it has top sensors as well, that when it went into that tree and it got close, it might have been seeing the stuff on top as well. So it was actually trying to avoid the stuff on top, which maybe caused me to have the lockout of control a little bit. So that's something to be very aware of, and it's a good thing. I might try and fly it under something just to see what it does as well. Let's see what else. I'm going to change that braking distance back to 5 seconds. 5 meters, I should say, if I can get my finger on it. It was at 1.5 standard. We have the radar chart. It should be showing at 40 meters. Look, you would have it on FPV radar chart, but it's super noisy in terms of the camera here. I don't know if there's a way. There's clearly a way I can turn that off, actually. Let's turn down the volume on the actual device. Let's go back to the FPV radar chart. Okay, so to stop the beeping, I've just turned the volume down on the device, which is nice. If I turn it up again, yeah, you can hear it. I'm going to just keep it off for the purpose of this, but if you're flying, it's nice to know that you can actually turn that off when you're doing the survey. All right, as you can see on the FPV screen there, you can see the sun through the clouds there. I wonder if that was something to do with it not being able to see it before. Now, I've got to find a spot where we're under something now. I'm going to have a look at those settings, vertical settings. So we've got up brake distance as 1 meter and down brake distance is set as 0.7 meter. We have the radar chart, which is sensing from 30 meters. So I'm going to go a little closer here just to make sure we're not doing anything dodgy. I wonder if it'll let me come in. Okay, so it's already collision avoiding me. All right, so I can't even get in there right now. I'm going to have to move the aircraft around. All right. So right now, I'm actually trying to push it towards the tree to get under the foliage a little bit better, but it's not letting me. And now, this is what now makes sense. On the left-hand side of my FPV screen here, I can see a chart, and it has 2.2 meters to something at the top, I believe, and 1.9 meters to the ground. If I go down, is that changing? Marginally, I think is that either taking, oh yeah, that might be 800 mil. So yeah, that's talking and saying 3 meters to whatever's at the top. Let's see, so I'm flying up now to the tree, and yep, it's holding it there at 1.3 meters, which it had set to 1.5 meters. So it's doing the right thing, and it's sensing the ground and what's on top there, and it's stopping me going up even though I'm holding full stick in. Pushing down, pushing up. It's really cool. All right, next thing, let's have a look. It's got some other sensors in here. And that's your standard stuff you find in your DJI. Got your enable vision positioning, return to home, obstacle detection, which you'd want on, precision landing, and then we have the lighting's options. So you can either set that to be on or off. Let's turn it on and see if we can actually see it. I don't know if you can see that from the back. I can see it just from over here. Turn it off. And you can do also upwards. So, you know, when you're doing bridge inspections and you're underneath, that upwards lighting was really handy, to be honest, to get, you know, to be able to see what's going on, as well as potentially a camera pointing up. It'll give you a little bit more ambient light when you're under a bridge. Looking through here, what else have we got in here? Total flight time so far, let's call it tracksuit. We've got 24 minutes and we're at 50% battery, so we're on track to get a pretty long flight time. I don't know if we'll get the full 50 minutes comfortably, but we'll see how we go. What else have we got in here? So this is the RTK menu, which we don't have the RTK linked, and that's why it wouldn't let me take off at the start, because I had this turned on. Map switch, this is just all your information we can see. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in this. What I might do now is I'll hand it over to the other guys to have a bit of a fly, and so we can see what they think. Dan, he's actually manning one of the cameras. He flies the matrices a lot. He does everything from wind turbine inspections to mapping. So he's got hundreds and hundreds of hours on the actual matrice series. Nothing on the M300. This will be his first flight too. So we'll get him on it and I'll ask him some questions and see what he thinks. All right. Dan, you're up. So
we've been up in the air for quite a while and it still has 23 minutes remaining.
Yeah, so I had a look on that menu just before you jumped off the camera there, Dan, and it was saying we've been flying for 24 minutes, so we're on track to get 50 minutes, which is really cool, and we'll just see. So, have a bit of a feel, Dan, and let's tell us what you're thinking.
So straight away, I really like the way that it flies. It's a normal DJI product. In sport, it's smooth and yet very directable.
I didn't expect to do this, but I want to try and run the battery out so you guys can actually see it going. I think the camera is almost rolling as one, but right now we don't actually have a camera on anything. So I'm just going to hold this camera for a bit and go up a little bit closer just so we can have a look of it in flight. So yeah, I'm on, it's pretty nice, super stable. I mean, we are dead still right now in the wind, and this thing is locked, it's not even moving. It's pretty cool. Definitely looks the part, it's very professional looking. I'm just gonna slap this on the ground here behind us, and I'll do this little interview with Dan while we keep this in shot. All right.
It doesn't feel like a heavy aircraft. It flies very smoothly. It reacts exactly the way that every other DJI aircraft feels. It's locked on rails. It was the same feeling that I had with the Matrice 200. The aircraft didn't care what was happening around it. It was the most locked in aircraft that I've ever flown. I think this one's going to have to beat it once we get it out in some wind and really try it out. But at the moment, the props feel huge. They've got so much reserve propulsion, like it never ever wonders us to worry about propulsion, that's for sure.
And when you're flying, doing these inspection jobs, Dan, like you're obviously doing a lot of hours in a day, and you know, like the wind picks up and you just have to continue doing it. Like, how do you feel like this platform, I mean, you've only been on a couple of minutes, but how do you feel like this will, you know, help your day out in terms of a day on job?
Yeah, certainly. I really appreciate the flight time is going to be key. Like being able to do anything more than 30 minutes. Like if this with a full payload can do 40 minutes at a time, that's going to really reduce your downtime, the amount of time that you have to land and change batteries. You just can spend all that time working, which is going to be a big game changer, honestly. Like, you can just spend more time inspecting, less time in the field.
Nice. And I think you're saying one of the big things about the, I think you've done the most hours out of anyone I know on a Matrice 210 V1, and you've flown that in 20 plus meters per second wind, doing wind turbines. I mean, how does this compare to that in terms of the feel?
Again, it's the same. It feels more like a bus than flying the Matrices. Always feels like you're flying a larger aircraft than anything else in the DJI lineup. You fly a Phantom or an Inspire outside, and while it does do very well on a windy day, the actual position holding on the Matrice system is just what gives you the confidence to go close and look at things. Where on your Inspires, I've done tests side to side with the Matrice and the Inspires, and the Matrice will be holding in 12, 13, 15 meters a second while the Inspire is wandering around in meters, which doesn't give you anywhere near the confidence that these things do.
Yeah, and I think they've actually, DJI have upped the rating on the wind resistance on this. I saw online, I believe it was like 15 meters a second wind resistance, which is pretty incredible as a stock standard, like off-the-shelf recommendation, which, I think the old ones, were still recommended at 10 meters a second.
Yeah.
So, this is what they're officially saying, it's better in the wind. And it certainly feels that way just from the way I've had a little fly here. We'll have to come out on a day where it's a little bit more windy to give it a good run. But, I think this is good. What it looks like is going to be pretty good right now.
I really enjoy the heads-up display that they've put on. The horizon, artificial horizon, I can see would be handy if you're in a situation where you don't have a good view of the horizon. Being able to, I'm assuming once you've got the payload on it, being able to see what the attitude of the aircraft is without having to look at the FPV system will be excellent. Like, you'll be able to see if the aircraft is really fighting in any one direction, and you can start to check what its limits are. I think having that indication on the screen is going to be very handy.
And what do you think of this flight controller? So you've been flying with the Ascendances and the Crystal Skies mainly on the other Matrice series. How do you feel this, I don't know if they're still calling it a smart controller, but I think it is.
So far, I'm very happy that they've reduced the weight. It has been a massive consideration with Descendants and Crystal Sky. If you are flying for a long period of time, you have to wear a lanyard. This is relatively heavy. I'm interested to try out this contraption you've got wearing, but the fact that you're able to handhold this for a short mission is very, very useful. I think that the brightness of the screen, I'd have to check that in very high brightness sunshine.
Slide it down and see if it can go brighter.
Yeah, so I think that's still at 100%.
Brightness.
But I think, like Aidan was talking about with the glare from the glossy screen, it might not be quite as bright as the high brightness Crystal Sky, but it's certainly more than enough to be able to see anything that we're trying to do out here. I've not been able to have trouble reading any of the data on the screen. It's a good sized screen. The actual interface feels very fast. Like, anytime you try and do anything in the menus, it doesn't wait. It just gets straight into it and off you go. There's no delays, which is, it makes you feel a lot more comfortable in getting the Matrice up in the air, I suppose, because then you can trust your gear. Sometimes with the Crystal Skies it would overheat or it would slow down, and you'd have to really know what you're doing to be able to fly back to yourself if the screen dies, where I think that this feels a little bit more complete just in its operation.
Nice. And why don't we jump out of that menu and we put it into a mapping mission just to show people what that looks like on the screen.
Okay.
I think we popped out before and we could see that.
So we'll go back to this mission flight and create a route. So we can go for a mapping route here.
Actually just saw there it has the oblique mapping function, which is cool for going around structures, which is probably a nice feature which I haven't seen in the older versions of DJI GS Pro.
So camera type, we don't have a camera on this one, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, it's going to make it very difficult.
We might have to go and try that another time, but we can still go and set the rest of it, I reckon.
We're just trying to burn flight time now.
There's only so much flying you can do on a perfectly calm day in the afternoon. So you can set your speeds, your heights, what it does when it returns to home, overlap ratios, everything's inside the app. You don't have to go and quit the app anymore and run up something like GS Pro. It's all internal, which is nice. Let's just, a 70 meter by 70 meter mission, let's see what it does.
Okay, so it's uploading now. It's sent it on its mission. So just watching the aircraft now, it's actually doesn't seem to be as violent as some of the others when it's going to do its mission. It's going up at a pretty steady rate. What's the climb rate? Can you see there?
It's only going up at 2 meters a second, so it is very very gentle in its ascent to the 40 meters that I've set it at.
Now, how do you look at pausing and stuff? You got to pause on the left-hand side and a stop mission as well.
I do like the line that it draws of its previous path. A GS Pro doesn't do that.
And what about, let's have a look at the FPV camera and show us what we're seeing on that. You can move that thing, just slide it without hitting stop. Yeah.
So this is our FPV still. You can see we're nice and high.
And what do you think of the graphical overlay?
I'm very impressed with how easy it is to read all of the information that you're trying to get out of the aircraft. It's quite quick. And I'm sure with only a very short amount of time on the aircraft, you'd be able to rely on that quite heavily. So it's certainly have to look into the way that it flies the mission. It's probably a very accurate course keeping.
I suppose that's probably something to do with the way the camera's been set and maybe the waypoints have been set, but it's going super slow. So, obviously there's no camera on there, so it can't sense what it needs to do. Anyway, let's cancel that. We can you guys have got a rough idea what's going on.
Here we go. We still have the AirSense system, so we can have a look at the aircraft and the distance away from us. You can see that there's an aircraft that's 5 kilometers away. Let's see if I can get rid of this and zoom right out, and we can look for that aircraft. Where are you? So there's the aircraft up here in the top right hand corner, which is always very, very nice. I do like having the AirSense inbuilt into an aircraft. I'd like to have all of the aircraft that I fly have that system. Just gives you a little bit of extra confidence in your airspace.
Yeah, and I think, some of the stuff we do, when you're flying around wind turbines, you're at heights of, higher than 120 meters with special permissions, and there are, even though planes are supposed to keep well clear of those areas, they do tend to fly lower in those areas when they can. So it's good to know a little bit what's going around you, so you have a bit of warning, especially if you're operating on your own and you don't have spotters and those sort of things going on. So
I've just found this tripod mode that Aidan was referring to before. That is an absolute godsend. Being able to get into that mode quickly is excellent. The number of times I've wanted to set that to a button on the Ascendance or something, that will save, like I go in and out of tripod mode every time I go up in the air, which means 20, 30 times a day you have to go through all the different menus one after another. Now it's on a single switch. That's fantastic. I would like to know how to change the speeds though. That is always very handy. I like one of the things that I do if I'm doing oblique missions inspecting something and I want to build a 3D model, you set your camera interval and your speed to the same distance away for your percentage overlap, and you can tune your tripod mode to build a very accurate 3D model.
yeah, so it's kind of like a manual way to be able to trigger photos, but still guarantee that you're getting really good. So what do we got? We got low battery warning. It's at 20%. That's before you land it. It's still saying we have 10 minutes of flight left. But let's go into the menu here. And I saw before in this, you go to the battery. And it gives you a flight time, which is kind of cool. So 39, let's call it 40 minutes. we'll do just on 40 minutes by the time we want to land at 20% battery with no payload. So, you know, that 50 minutes flight time will be probably to your at least your 10% battery. We'll just try and run it out. May as well see what it can do, and we'll see what point it wants to try and return to home or land itself. But we'll run it down to say 10%, which is probably the lowest we'd be comfortable ever flying it to, and see what that ends up at. It's saying it is still 9 minutes left on it, so let's see what it gets to. I'm going to come over here to Chang, who looks after the store. You can put that down, Chang. You jump on the camera here. Is this still rolling? Still rolling?
Yep.
All right. Why don't you point it out this way, and then you come in here and I'll interview.
Flies well.
Dan's looks like Dan's actually enjoying it. He just said it flies really well. So Chang is he looks after our store in Melbourne here, and you know, he knows all things DJI, and he's Mr. DJI here, and he loves DJI products. A big fanboy, right?
One would say that.
And look, we've been talking a lot. Chang's actually been behind one of the cameras. We decided just to get out of here quickly today, as we have to give this thing back. But as it's just a demo unit from DJI. But what are some of the features that you think are really impressive on this that we probably haven't talked about? You know, obviously we don't have the payloads, but
Yeah. Well, the payload is a big thing, but the all new sensors and the beacons, they are pretty good. Probably the biggest upgrade I can think of. Yeah, and definitely the batteries. I hear 2 of the batteries are heavier than the actual aircraft itself.
we could probably test that. But the batteries do feel really heavy when you put them in there. There's these 2 really bright flashing strobe lights going on at the moment. Dan turned those on, so I thought that might have been to warn you of low battery, but that is actually, hopefully you can see that in the video. You come behind us here, Dan, so you just come behind us so you can see where you are. So, I know, I'll just spread out a little bit, Chang, but as you can see, they're the navigation LEDs, our super bright LEDs. I could see these being really useful in a number of situations for emergency responders or when you're working around other aircraft. Yeah, that's a really nice bright light which is included on there. It'll also help you get night permissions a little bit easier as you've got proper nav lights on there. We've had to put things like that on our drones in the past as auxiliary things, but having that included on their unit's pretty cool. How are we going battery-wise?
That is 13% now.
We're at 13%, and how much flight time?
That is 42 minutes.
42 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna struggle to get to 50 minutes, but you know, I think, what are we going? So we're looking at, yeah, I suppose in a direct hover, like in perfect conditions, maybe forward flight, you're going to get a little bit more flight time. But you know, we're probably going to land it. We'll land it at 10%, and we'll see exactly what flight time we get. So we're at 12%. Probably got a few more minutes. It's saying we still have 6 minutes left on the battery on the actual controller. You know, I would never really want to drive it that low if I was working out in the field. You know, that's just too low to be comfortable. I'm assuming DJI have run the batteries pretty much till 0. I don't know if that actually leaves anything left in the tank or if that's just DJI saying 0 time to land. Sort of like when you empty your car and it says empty and you've got a little bit more left to just safety. But I would never, on a job, typically take it below 20% to give you plenty of margin. Obviously on this you have a little bit more flight time at 20%, so 15 might be a viable option, but you know, it's just not worth risking for it.
That's your 11 on both now.
All right, we're at 11%. Let's just move, just have a look. What have we got here? So 43 minutes. Let's call it 44 minutes, and let's land it down. It's critically low battery now. It's saying 10%. It's forcing us to land. Well, not forcing us, I should say. We've just landed ourselves. So, yeah, call it 44 minutes, down to 10% battery. I think that's still pretty impressive. Just have a look there.
43.5 minutes of flight.
43 and a half.
Batteries are already bouncing back to over 44 volts.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, you probably could stretch it out if you were in forward flight for that whole time. I'm sure you could get a bit more, but there it is, guys. M300. Shoot us any messages with the questions. Put something in the comments. If you want us to test something out, put that in the comments as well. We're happy to do so. There it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Long video, but that's the whole flight time in one. All right. Cut video.